They thought she was just another quiet black girl they could shove around in a crowded hallway until the moment Trent grabbed her hair and learned why you never corner someone who was trained to survive. 1 second she was pressed against the lockers. The next her MMA Counterstrike shattered his pride and dropped the school's untouchable king straight to his knees. Phones flew up. Silence broke. And every bully realized they had just messed with the wrong girl in the wrong school on the wrong day. The moment the second bell rang, Ridgewood High erupted into its usual chaos, lockers slamming like metal thunder, sneaker soles screeching across the polished floor, voices colliding into a noisy teenage storm, and right in the middle of that overcrowded hallway, Ariana Brooks stepped inside, like someone walking into a spotlight she never asked for. Heads turned. Conversations paused, eyes dragged over her as if scanning for flaws. Her dark skin, the way her curls framed her face, the way she carried herself, everything about her seemed to invite judgment in a place already hungry for it. Ariana's steps were steady, controlled. She told herself to breathe, to focus, to ignore the weight of those stares. But the whispers followed anyway, weaving behind her like a cruel echo. That's the new girl. She's quiet. She looks scared. She won't last long. Near the row of orange lockers, 3 boys lounged against the wall in matching varsity jackets, bright orange sleeves, white body, bold black letter B stitched across the chest. Trent Miller stood at the center, tall, smug, and terrifyingly comfortable in the role of someone who thought the school belonged to him. Logan and Chase flanked him like a pair of shadows, nodding at every word he said. Trent's gaze locked onto Ariana the moment she passed in front of them. He lifted his chin slightly, smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Then he leaned toward his friends and whispered something low. Whatever it was, it made all 3 of them burst into laughter loud enough for Ariana to hear, loud enough to make a few students stop and stare. Ariana kept walking, but the laughter clung to her like static. She tightened her grip around her notebooks, eyes forward, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. But Trent wasn't done. He pushed himself off the lockers right as she reached the next corner and walked directly into her path, not slowing, not shifting, not even pretending it was an accident. His shoulder slammed into hers so hard, her books exploded out of her arms, papers scattering like panicked birds. The hallway went silent. Trent didn't apologize. He didn't look back. He just kept walking as though she didn't exist. Ariana knelt to gather her things, jaw clenched. When she stood, she said quietly but clearly, "Don't do that again." Trent finally turned. His expression shifted from amused to intrigued. "Oh? The new black girl speaks?" The air froze. A few phones subtly lifted, recording. Chase snickered. Logan folded his arms, watching Ariana like she was some unpredictable puppy. Ariana met Trent's eyes not with fear, but with a warning. And that's when Logan decided to take it further. As Ariana stepped forward, Logan slid his foot out at the perfect angle to trip her. A dirty trick, one he'd used on a dozen kids before. But this time, something different happened. Ariana didn't fall. Her body shifted in a split-second wait, tilting, posture tightening, foot adjusting with surgical precision. She glided past the trap like she'd rehearsed the move 1,000 times. Logan's eyes widened. Chase's smirk faltered. Even Trent, the untouchable king of Ridgewood High, blinked in surprise. Ariana didn't look back, but the boys did. They watched the way she moved, too stable, too controlled, too trained. The hallway buzzed again, but quieter now. Observing, considering, whispering for a different reason. No one knew where that reflex came from. No one understood what they had just seen. But Trent did know one thing. He wanted to break that composure. He wanted to see what she was hiding. And just a few hours later he'd get his chance. The last bell echoed through Ridgewood High like a sigh of relief. Students spilled out of classrooms, flooding toward the exits, eager to escape another exhausting day. But as the crowd thinned and the building grew quieter, one hallway remained dim and strangely isolated. The athletics wing, lit by flickering neon lights that buzzed like dying insects. Ariana walked alone through the long corridor, the hum of the lights trailing behind her. Her steps were calm, almost too calm for someone who had already drawn unwanted attention that morning. She adjusted the strap of her backpack and kept her eyes forward. Then, halfway down the hallway, three silhouettes stepped out from behind a row of trophy cases. Trent, Logan, Chase. The orange varsity jackets glowed under the neon light, making them look like predators marked by warning colors. Ariana slowed but didn't stop. Trent raised both hands as if greeting an old friend. "Relax," he said, voice smooth, casual, but dripping with something sharp beneath. "We just want to talk." Ariana kept moving. Trent's smirk widened. "About that little reflex of yours this morning. What was it?" He tilted his head mockingly. "Karate TikTok? A YouTube tutorial? Or just dumb luck?" Ariana didn't answer. Silence was safer. The silence annoyed them. Logan reached out casually, grabbing the strap of her backpack. He didn't yank hard, just enough for the fabric to snap under the tension. The strap tore, the bag dipping off her shoulder. Ariana froze. Her fingers curled into her palm, knuckles whitening. She inhaled through her nose, forcing the breath to steady the anger bubbling under her skin. Logan dangled the broken strap between two fingers. "Cheap," he laughed. Chase circled to Ariana's other side, boxing her in without touching her. "You should look at someone when they talk to you." Ariana kept her jaw tight. She didn't look at him either. Trent stepped closer, standing just inches from her. His cologne, sweat, and dominance mixed together into an overpowering presence. "Here's how this works," he said quietly, almost conversational. "In Ridgewood High, we decide who's prey, who gets pushed, who gets ignored." He leaned forward. "And who gets crushed?" Ariana's eyes narrowed, but she stayed silent. Trent nodded approvingly, mistaking her silence for fear. He lifted a finger and tapped her forehead lightly. "See? You get it. That's good." Ariana took one slow step back. But it was the way she moved, measured, balanced, instinctive, that caught Trent off guard. Her feet shifted with intention, not panic. Her eyes flicked around, mapping exits, angles, distances. It wasn't the reaction of someone scared. It was the reaction of someone trained. Logan noticed it too. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Chase frowned. "She moved like a fighter," Trent finished. For a brief second, their expressions shifted. Curiosity mingled with something darker. Ariana didn't confirm anything, but her body had spoken louder than her silence ever could. Trent smiled slowly. A smile that said he wasn't intimidated. A smile that said he was entertained. "Well," he said, stepping back with a dramatic flourish, "that just made things a lot more interesting." Ariana's heartbeat thudded in her ears, but she refused to break eye contact. If she backed down now, it would never end. If she reacted too strongly, it would explode. She walked past them, keeping her pace controlled, fighting the urge to run. None of them stopped her. Not because they respected her, but because Trent had already decided something. He watched as she disappeared into the next hallway, lips curling with anticipation. "What do you think?" Logan asked, voice low. Trent's answer was instant. "I think she's hiding something." He cracked his knuckles. "And tomorrow, I'm going to drag it out of her." And the next day, he made good on that promise with a challenge, cruel enough to force her true self into the open. The parking lot behind Ridgewood High was the kind of place students avoided, unless they had a reason to be there. The asphalt was cracked, the far lampposts flickered weakly, and the tall line of trees behind the fence swallowed the sound of anything that happened there. It was isolated, too isolated, which made it perfect for Trent. Ariana had barely stepped onto the pavement when she saw them waiting. Trent leaned against the hood of his car like a king expecting his subject. Logan bounced a basketball lazily. Chase kept glancing around as if making sure no teachers were nearby. A small group of cheerleaders, 3 girls in short skirts and matching jackets, hovered behind them, whispering, watching eagerly. Ariana's stomach tightened, but she didn't slow down. Trent pushed off the car, smirking. "Brooks," he called out, voice echoing across the empty lot. "Glad you could join us." She didn't respond. She wasn't here voluntarily. Logan spun the basketball on his finger before letting it drop to the ground. It bounced once, twice, and then he kicked it deliberately. The ball rolled fast across the asphalt, disappearing beneath a parked sedan. Trent folded his arms and nodded toward the car. "Go get it." Ariana stared at him. "No." Trent blinked, amused by her audacity. "Sorry, maybe you didn't hear me." He pointed again. "I said go get it." "No," Ariana repeated, clearer. The cheerleaders exchanged excited looks. This wasn't the usual script new students normally obeyed, terrified of what came next. This girl didn't. Trent's smile faded. "Pick it up." Ariana shifted her stance, ready to walk away. But Chase stepped forward and grabbed the back of her backpack, yanking it hard enough to force her a step backward. That was a mistake. Ariana twisted her wrist, pivoted, and slipped out of his grip in one fluid movement. Chase stumbled forward, nearly tripping over his own feet. He blinked at her, stunned. "What the?" Logan froze too, his expression cracking. Even Trent's eyebrows lifted a fraction. That wasn't a normal reaction. That was training, real training. Behind them, one of the cheerleaders, Kaylee, a junior known for documenting drama, had her phone out. She wasn't subtle about it. The camera was pointed directly at the confrontation, recording everything. Chase noticed her and laughed. "We're going viral today." But before Kaylee could even smile, Trent strode toward her and snatched the phone out of her hand. "Hey!" she shouted. "Give it back." Trent waved her off and looked down at the screen, thumb hovering over the delete button. And that's when Ariana saw it. When Trent raised his arm, the sleeve of his jacket slid up just enough to reveal a faint but unmistakable scar. Thin, pale, running diagonally across his forearm. A training scar, the kind that came from grappling practice, not accidents. Someone who trained had given him that scar. Or he had earned it through repetition. Her heart skipped. Trent wasn't just a bully. He fought. He trained. He knew exactly what he was looking at when she dodged, when she pivoted, when she reacted. This wasn't just harassment, it was a challenge. Trent tossed the phone back to the cheerleader. "Don't post anything without asking," he said sharply, though his eyes never left Ariana. The girl caught it, confused and annoyed, but backed off. Trent took a slow step toward Ariana, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You move like someone who thinks she's above the food chain." "I could." He leaned in closer. "I'm going to fix that." Ariana didn't flinch, but her pulse hammered. If Trent also knew martial arts, then this wasn't a coincidence. He wasn't trying to break her spirit. He was trying to prove he was stronger. The realization sent a chill down her spine. She turned away and walked toward the school building, refusing to look back. But she didn't need to see him to know he was smiling a cold, anticipatory smile. Because now Trent understood something. She wasn't prey. She was competition, and Ariana knew, with absolute certainty, that this confrontation was only the beginning. The stairwell in Building B was the quietest part of Ridgewood High, too quiet. During passing periods, students avoided it because it was narrow, dim, and felt more like a service exit than a hallway. No teachers patrolled there. No administrators walked through. It was the perfect place to corner someone, and that was exactly what Logan and Chase chose. Ariana had just stepped onto the first landing when she heard hurried footsteps behind her. Before she could turn, Logan shoved her shoulder, forcing her against the cold concrete wall. "Well, well," Logan said, voice loud enough to echo. "Caught you red-handed," Ariana frowned. "Caught me doing what?" Chase held up a pink wallet, one she had never seen before. "Stealing from Emily Matthews. You dropped this." Ariana stared at it, stunned. "That's not mine." Logan slapped the wall beside her head, making her flinch. "Of course you'd say that." "I didn't take anything," she said, calmer than she felt. Logan let out a laugh, sharp, theatrical. "Sure, the new girl who's been acting all tough just happens to have Emily's wallet on the exact day it goes missing." Ariana's jaw tightened. "You planted it." By then, footsteps approached. Two freshmen stopped at the bottom of the stairs, whispering. Another student paused at the top, arms crossed. In seconds, more students gathered, drawn by the noise. Their expressions shifted from curiosity to suspicion as they saw the wallet in Chase's hand. The pressure on Ariana's chest tightened. Chase held the wallet up. "Anyone want to call Emily? Or should we just drag Ariana to the front office ourselves?" A murmur spread through the crowd. "That's messed up." "Seriously? Did she really steal it?" Ariana shook her head. "This is fake. They cornered me." But her voice felt too small in the cramped stairwell. It didn't matter that she was innocent. What mattered was who controlled the narrative, and Logan and Chase were louder, older, and more familiar to everyone watching. Slowly, Logan stepped to the side, revealing a security camera mounted on the wall behind her. Perfectly positioned, perfectly aimed at Ariana. "There," he said, grinning. "We have a camera. Want to tell your side to that?" Ariana exhaled in relief for a split second. A camera meant proof. A camera meant she wasn't alone. Until she saw it. The lens was covered, not with random tape, but with bright orange duct tape, the exact shade of the varsity jackets Trent's group wore. Her stomach dropped. They had planned this. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment accusation. This wasn't improvisation. This was a setup designed, timed, rehearsed. Chase noticed the moment she realized it. His grin widened. "What's wrong? Camera can't help you?" Ariana's mind raced. Logan leaned in, his breath hot on her cheek. "You know what we want, right? You embarrassed Trent. People are talking. He can't let that slide." "So this is revenge?" she asked quietly. "No," Logan corrected, lowering his voice to a growl. "This is balance." The crowd shifted, unsettled but unsure. No one stepped forward to help. No one wanted to choose a side. Cameras on phones were raised, but no one intervened. They preferred to be spectators. Ariana scanned the space again, searching for an exit, a break, anything. Her pulse pounded not from fear, but from clarity. This wasn't about a wallet. This wasn't about school drama. This was Trent testing her limits, pushing her into corners, forcing her to break. And now his crew was executing the perfect trap in his name. She straightened her back. "I'm done letting you play games with me." Logan blinked, thrown off for a second. Chase scoffed. "What are you gonna do? There's no camera, no witnesses on your side." Ariana cut him off. "There are always witnesses. You just picked the wrong one." Her voice was steady, steel-like. For the first time, Logan looked unsure. People in the stairwell whispered, tension thick as smoke. Ariana didn't know what her next move would be. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She wasn't running anymore. And by tomorrow, Trent would learn exactly what that meant. The cafeteria at Ridgewood High was chaos disguised as lunchtime. Trays clattered. Students shouted across tables. Fryer grease hung thick in the air. It was loud, messy, and the worst place to attract attention, exactly why Ariana chose the far corner, where no one cared enough to stare for long. She sat alone, quietly eating, trying to pretend the morning hadn't happened. But Ridgewood wasn't a school that let people forget. The doors slammed open. Trent, Logan, and Chase strutted inside like they owned the building. Conversations dipped, then shifted, following them as naturally as a flock following its leader. They spotted Ariana instantly. Trent didn't smile, he smirked. They approached her table with the lazy swagger of boys who had never been punished for anything in their lives. Ariana didn't look up. She should have. Logan reached her first and grabbed her lunch tray without warning, ripping it off the table. Food splattered across her sweater, steaming spaghetti sauce, and oily cheese dripping down her chest. The sound echoed. A few students gasped. Then the laughter started. The table next to her erupted in giggles. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Another added, "That's what she gets for talking back." Ariana froze, breath trapped in her lungs. For a moment, she just stared at the sauce staining her clothes, dripping onto the floor. Her fingers tightened around her spoon until the metal bent slightly. Trent leaned down beside her ear, resting one hand on the table like he owned the space around her. "In this school," he whispered, voice soft, venomous, "we decide what you are." His breath hit the side of her neck, sending a chill through her, not from fear, but from fury rising so sharp it almost tasted metallic on her tongue. Ariana placed the spoon on the table, deliberately, slowly. Then she lifted her head. Her eyes, once cautious, once patient, no longer held fear. They burned, not bright like anger, but cold, focused, trained. The stare of someone who had stood in rings, taken hits, given them back harder. The stare of someone who knew exactly how much strength she carried in every muscle. The cafeteria fell unnaturally quiet. Chase chuckled nervously. "What's that look for?" A girl sitting 2 tables away squinted at Ariana. "Wait. Hold on." She leaned forward, eyes widening. "Isn't that Ariana Brooks?" The laughter died. Another student whispered, "The same Ariana Brooks, who competed in the youth MMA division?" A hush swept through the cafeteria like a sudden wind. Heads turned. Forks froze mid-air. Even the staff behind the counter paused to look. Ariana didn't confirm or deny it. She didn't need to. The tension shifted just slightly, but enough for Trent to notice. His jaw clenched. He straightened, eyeing her with a mix of challenge and calculation. He studied her posture, her calm breathing, the way she didn't flinch even with 3 boys towering over her. For the first time, he saw what the others saw. She wasn't prey. She had never been, and now everyone knew it. Trent's smirk returned. But it was tighter this time, forced. "So," he said louder, "you think being some trained little fighter makes you safe?" No one moved. Ariana didn't break eye contact. "I think it makes me not afraid of you." The words hit him like a slap. Logan and Chase looked between them, unsure whether to laugh or step back. Around them, students recorded. Phones lifted. Screens glowed. The moment burned itself into the memory of the cafeteria, and Trent felt the power shift. Just a little. Enough to terrify him. He leaned closer, voice dropping again. "You just made a mistake," but Ariana's voice was steady. "So did you." Trent stepped back, eyes darkening not with fear, but with the promise of retaliation. He didn't like losing control. He didn't like witnesses. And he definitely didn't like competition. He turned abruptly, motioning for his friends to move. But as they walked away, the look in Trent's eyes said everything. He was done playing. He wanted to break her. And now that the whole school was watching, he only needed the right moment. The opportunity came faster than Ariana expected. The 3rd period bell hadn't even finished ringing when Hallway C burst into its usual storm of bodies and noise. Lockers slammed. Sneakers squeaked. Backpacks collided. Voices rose and crashed like waves. It was the busiest corridor in the school, and the worst place for anyone to get cornered, which made it the perfect place for Trent Miller to make his move. Ariana was walking toward her next class when a hand shot out from behind, and yanked her hair so violently her head snapped back. Pain ripped through her scalp. Her balance faltered. A gasp tore from her throat. The hallway fell instantly silent. Students froze mid-step, mid-conversation, mid-laugh. A ripple of shock spread outward as Trent stepped into view, his fist still tangled in Ariana's curls. Ariana steadied herself, jaw tight. "Let go." Trent leaned in, eyes burning with humiliation and fury. "Or what? What are you gonna do?" His voice echoed through the crowded hallway, amplifying the challenge. Dozens of students pulled out their phones. Screens glowed, angles shifted. The moment became a spectacle. Ariana didn't react, not yet, but the tension in her shoulders coiled like a drawn bow. Then Trent shoved her. Hard. Ariana stumbled into the lockers with a metallic slam. Before she could regain balance, Logan grabbed her wrist and pinned it against the cold metal. Chase stepped in to block her escape route. Arms crossed, grin widening with every second. "Looks like we got ourselves a tough one," Logan taunted. Ariana's breath hitched, not from fear but from restraint. From controlling the instinct that screamed to break free. Trent took one slow step forward, savoring every ounce of attention. "You embarrassed me," he said. "You humiliated me. You think being some little MMA princess makes you invincible." Ariana's voice came out steady. "I told you to let go," Trent smirked. "Make me." Then he raised his arm. 30-plus students sucked in a collective breath as Trent's hand swung toward her face, a full-force slap aimed to break her resolve in front of the entire school. But the hit never landed. Ariana moved, fast, not like a scared girl reacting out of panic, but like a trained fighter responding to a rehearsed opening. She twisted her torso, shifting her weight off the wall. Logan's grip loosened for half a second, just enough. Ariana seized his wrist, rotated her hips, and pulled him forward in one fluid, practiced motion. Logan's body lifted off the ground. He hit the floor with a thud so loud it echoed down the hallway. Students screamed. Chase stumbled backward, startled. Trent's eyes widened, confusion flashing across his face before rage drowned it out. Ariana didn't hesitate. With Logan down, the angle was open just for a heartbeat. Ariana planted her foot, grounded her weight, and unleashed a clean, brutal, technically perfect right cross straight into Trent's jaw. The crack echoed like a gunshot. Trent's head snapped sideways. His knees buckled. He collapsed, kneeling in front of Ariana Brooks. The hallway exploded. Shouts, gasps, screams, phones whipped up from every direction. Flashlights flickered on. Several students were already yelling, "Oh my God!" Someone else shouted, "She dropped him!" Trent stayed on his knees, stunned, hand clutching the side of his face. His expression flickered between disbelief and humiliation so raw it almost hurt to look at. Ariana stepped back, breathing evenly, eyes locked on him with a calm he couldn't match. She hadn't attacked. She had defended. Perfectly, and everyone had seen it. From 20 angles. On 30 phones. In a hallway too crowded to lie, Logan groaned on the floor. Chase backed away like he'd seen a ghost, and Trent finally lifted his head, only to find a wall of cameras pointed straight at him. The king of Ridgewood High had been dethroned in front of his entire kingdom. But Ariana wasn't relieved, not even for a moment. She knew Trent wouldn't swallow humiliation this big. Not in public. Not with evidence everywhere. Not with power slipping through his fingers like sand. And the consequences of that strike, the one that put him on his knees, were only just beginning. By the next morning, Ridgewood High felt like a hive that had been kicked open. Students swarmed across the courtyard long before the first bell, buzzing with one topic, one moment, one name. The video. Ariana's punch. Trent on his knees. It had taken just 15 minutes the day before for the footage to spread through private group chats. By sunrise, it was everywhere. Snapchat stories, TikTok edits, Discord servers, even someone's fan-made compilation titled "The Fall of King Trent." Now, the courtyard vibrated with chaotic energy. Laughter burst from pockets of students. A circle of freshmen huddled over a phone, replaying the clip in slow motion. A group of seniors remixed it with dramatic opera music. Someone even printed a meme of Trent kneeling and taped it to the cafeteria window. Ariana walked through the courtyard with her hood up, but eyes still followed her wide. Stunned, respectful, not mocking, not suspicious. This time, people looked at her like they were seeing her for the first time. Half pride, half fear. Across the courtyard doors, the main attraction arrived. Trent Miller. His jaw was swollen, the bruise blooming purple and green along the side of his face. He looked like he hadn't slept. Logan and Chase flanked him, but even their presence couldn't shield him from the storm of attention waiting outside. The moment he stepped out, the whispers hit him like a physical blow. "There he is. That's the guy who got dropped. Yo, play it again." A junior shouted at full volume, "The king of the hallway got code." The courtyard erupted into laughter. Trent's entire body tensed. The muscle along his jaw twitched. His eyes, normally cold and confident, now flashed with humiliation and fury. Heat crawled up his neck, turning his face a deeper shade of red. Logan leaned in. "Ignore them, man. They'll get over it." Chase nodded quickly. though his eyes darted nervously around the crowd. Yeah, it's just a phase. They're joking. But Trent heard none of it. All he heard was the sound of something breaking inside him. His reputation, his authority, his legend. And all because of her. She will pay the price, he whispered, venom thick in every syllable. Logan swallowed. Chase shifted uneasily. Neither dared argue. But Trent's anger wasn't directionless. It was focused, sharp, hungry. His gaze swept over the courtyard until it landed on someone by the stair rail. A quiet kid with messy hair, glasses slipping down his nose, and a backpack decorated with coding stickers. Will Harper. Will used to be an easy target. Trent had shoved him into lockers, stolen his lunch, mocked his hobbies. Will rarely fought back, just endured it. Because fighting only made things worse. Will now stood frozen, gripping his phone a little too tightly. And Trent noticed. "Come here," Trent muttered to Logan and Chase, pulling them aside into a shadowed corner between two vending machines. "Someone leaked that video." Logan frowned. Everyone filmed it." "No," Trent snapped. "Everyone recorded, but someone spread it first." Chase blinked. "You think it was her?" Trent shook his head, eyes locked on Will. "No. She was busy fighting. The video hit the group chats within minutes. That was someone standing close. Someone who hates me just enough." The boys followed Trent's stare. Will Harper looked away quickly. Too quickly. Trent's lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. Not the kind he used when he bullied. The kind he used right before he ruined someone. "After I'm done with Ariana," he murmured, "I'm finding the traitor." A chill threaded through Logan's spine. Chase swallowed hard. Trent glanced toward the courtyard exit, where Ariana had disappeared into the building. "First her," he said. Then him. His voice held a promise of violence so heavy it left the air cold. But while Trent sharpened his plan for revenge, Ariana was already walking into a different storm, one she didn't even know was waiting for her. And this storm wasn't made of teenagers. It was made of adults with power. The principal's office at Ridgewood High always felt colder than the rest of the building. The walls were lined with outdated certificates, the smell of old paper lingered like dust in the air, and the fluorescent lights buzzed weakly above the wooden desk. It was the kind of room where decisions were made long before anyone spoke, a room where Ariana now sat, spine straight, jaw tight. Principal Hale didn't greet her. He didn't offer a seat. He didn't even look surprised to see her. He just stared slowly, dragging his eyes from her hair down to her shoes like someone examining a problem he already knew the solution to. Across from him sat Trent Miller, his left cheek taped and swollen, the faint line of Ariana's punch still bright beneath the adhesive. Logan lingered behind him, arms crossed, mimicking concern. Trent looked up with the perfect expression of an injured victim. Wide eyes, trembling sighs, a hand hovering near his jaw as though it might shatter if he touched it. It was an Oscar-winning performance. "Sit," Hale finally said. Ariana sat. Hale adjusted his glasses, opened a thin folder, and without looking up asked, "Why did you attack a fellow student?" Ariana's stomach dropped. Not "did you attack?" Why did you attack? The verdict had already been delivered. "I didn't attack him," Ariana said, keeping her voice even. "He pulled my hair. He shoved me. His friends held my arms. I defended myself." Logan scoffed loudly. "Yeah, right." Trent dramatically pressed a hand to his cheek. "Sir, she hit me out of nowhere. I was trying to talk to her about an issue and she snapped." Ariana's fists tightened in her lap. "That's a lie," Trent continued, voice trembling just enough to sound authentic. "She's been aggressive since she transferred. She threatened us. I didn't know what she was capable of. I was scared." Logan nodded in agreement. "We all were." Ariana blinked in disbelief. "That's not what happened, and you know it." Principal Hale closed the folder, steepling his fingers. "Ariana, violence is unacceptable here. You could have seriously injured Trent." "He grabbed me first," Ariana repeated. "There are videos. Dozens. If you watch them, no." Hale's voice snapped through the room like a whip. Ariana froze. Videos only escalate matters, he said sharply. We do not encourage digital harassment or online shaming of students. But the video shows. I said no. Ariana's pulse spiked. She looked at Trent, then back at Hale, piecing together the way Hale avoided eye contact whenever she mentioned the truth. The way Trent sat too comfortably, the way Logan smirked behind him. Something wasn't right. And then she saw it. A photo frame slightly turned toward the wall behind Hale's desk. A family picture. Principal Hale, a woman who looked like Trent's mother, and Trent himself years younger but unmistakable. Her breath caught in her throat. Hale wasn't just biased. He was Trent's uncle. Everything fell into place with brutal clarity. The unchecked bullying, the confidence, the arrogance, the reason no one ever challenged Trent or reported him. He had protection at the top. Ariana swallowed hard. The room suddenly felt smaller, colder, hostile. This isn't a conversation about discipline, she realized silently. This is a cover-up, her voice hardened. So that's it? You've already made up your mind? Hale finally stood, towering over her. I have, he said, and I suggest you adjust your attitude if you want a future at Ridgewood. Ariana rose slowly, meeting his gaze without blinking. The truth will come out. Hale's expression tightened. Not if you're wise enough to let this go. Trent smirked behind him, eyes gleaming with victory. But Ariana didn't look at Trent. She didn't look at Logan. She didn't look at the framed family photo. She simply turned and walked out, her heartbeat steadying into something sharper than anger resolve. As the door shut behind her, Trent muttered, "She won't last here." But he was wrong, because someone had seen what happened yesterday. Someone who wasn't afraid of Trent. Someone who wasn't afraid of Hale. And that someone was already waiting for Ariana. The gym was nearly empty after school, just the echo of basketballs from the far court, and the faint squeak of sneakers fading into the distance. Sunlight cut through the high windows in sharp golden slants, illuminating floating dust like tiny sparks. Ariana stood alone on the wrestling mat, her breathing steady but strained. She jabbed at the air, then pivoted into a roundhouse kick, each movement sharp, controlled, loaded with all the frustration that had been building since she stepped foot into Ridgewood High. The mat trembled under her strike. She reset her stance. Jab, cross, pivot, hook. Her mind replayed every moment: Trent's grip on her hair, the look on Hale's face, the laughter in the cafeteria. She kicked harder, the air cracking beneath her heel. Again, a voice said behind her. Ariana froze. Coach Rosa stood near the bleachers, arms crossed, posture rigid. Rosa was in her 40s, strong build, dark hair tied into a tight bun. She rarely smiled. She demanded perfection, and she had a reputation for seeing through excuses the way X-rays saw through bone. Ariana straightened, wiping sweat from her forehead. Sorry, Coach, I didn't know anyone was here. Rosa walked closer, her boots echoing faintly. You were trained. Ariana hesitated. Yes, how long? Ariana shifted her weight, unsure whether honesty was safe in this school anymore. Since I was a kid, my dad taught me. Rosa nodded once, like something she already suspected had been confirmed. Your footwork shows it. Ariana blinked. You were watching? I saw more than your footwork, Rosa said quietly. Ariana's pulse jumped. Rosa pointed toward the glass window overlooking hallway C. I saw everything yesterday. Through that window. Ariana's breath stalled. Everything? Rosa stepped closer, lowering her voice. You defended yourself. Clean. Controlled. Perfectly justified. Ariana stared at her, disbelief washing over her like cold water. No one had said that yet, not a teacher, not a peer. Everyone had wanted her to be the villain simply because Trent said so. Why? Why didn't you step in? Ariana asked, voice cracking slightly. Rosa's jaw tightened. By the time I got there, it was over. And Principal Hale. She stopped herself, eyes darkening. He has a way of burying anything that makes Trent look bad. Ariana looked down, the truth stinging, even though she already knew it. Trent is a problem, Rosa continued. He's been protected for too long. You're not the first student he's hurt, just the first to fight back and the first he couldn't beat. Rosa glanced toward the door, making sure no one was nearby. Then she pulled something out of her jacket pocket, a USB drive. Ariana frowned. What's that? Rosa exhaled slowly. Proof. She led Ariana to her office, shut the blinds, and plugged the USB into her desktop. A video file opened. Ariana watched in stunned silence. The footage showed the stairwell from 2 days earlier. The camera's perspective was angled high near the ceiling, same place where Ariana had seen the lens covered with tape. But in the clip, Logan was clearly visible stepping onto a stool, reaching up, and slapping a strip of bright orange duct tape over the camera, laughing as he did it. Rosa spoke quietly. Before Logan covered it, I saw the feed. I knew something bad was coming. I pulled the recording manually before the tape went on. Ariana's throat tightened. You saved it. I saved everything, Rosa said. Trent's crew planned that setup. Anyone with eyes can see it. This was the first time Ariana felt her knees soften, not from fear, but from relief so sharp it almost hurt. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't alone. Rosa unplugged the USB and pressed it into Ariana's palm. Be careful who you trust, but know this, you have someone in your corner. Ariana closed her fingers around the drive. An ally. A real one. It felt like the first crack of sunlight after weeks of storm clouds. But Rosa wasn't finished. Whatever Trent is planning next, she warned, it will be worse than anything he's done so far. Ariana swallowed, the weight of the prediction anchoring in her stomach, because she could feel it too. Trent wasn't just angry now. He was desperate. The school grounds at dusk looked nothing like Ridgewood High in daylight. The chatter was gone. The noise had faded. Only the golden glow of dim parking lot lamps stretched across the grass, long shadows trembling whenever the breeze stirred. Ariana stepped onto the empty field, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She'd forgotten a textbook during 7th period and didn't want to return early the next morning. The bleachers stood still and silent, the kind of silence that made every footstep feel too loud. She didn't notice the 3 silhouettes until they stepped out of the shadows. Trent, Logan, Chase, all standing between her and the exit. Ariana stopped instantly, muscles tightening, instincts waking like a switch had been flipped inside her. Trent stepped forward first, hands in his pockets, his bruised jaw visible even under the weak lighting. His voice carried across the field, calm, cold, dripping with a dangerous nostalgia. You know, he said, this is how things used to be around here. Clear rules. Simple order. His eyes sharpened. The weak obeyed. Ariana's pulse steadied. Not fast. Not frantic. Just steady alert. I'm not weak. Trent smiled without warmth. That's what we're here to fix. Right on cue. Chase lunged forward, grabbing Ariana's wrist from behind. Logan moved around to block her escape route, his stance wide, prepared. This time there were no cameras, no students, no witnesses. Trent stepped closer, raising his arm. No videos, no audience, just us. So let's finish what you started. He swung. But Ariana was no longer the girl who hesitated. She dropped her weight, spun her body, and delivered a 180-degree pivot kick straight into Chase's ribs. The impact sent him flying back, hitting the ground with a shocked yelp that echoed across the field. Logan tried next. He reached for her shoulder, but Ariana swept his leg, hooked behind his ankle, and slammed him into the grass with precise momentum. Logan grunted, the wind knocked out of him, arms scrambling uselessly. Trent froze for half a second, just half. But it was enough. Ariana stepped in, trapped his arm, pivoted her hips, and wrenched his elbow into a tight armbar. Trent's knees buckled as she forced him down onto the grass. He choked on a scream, half pain, half rage. "Ariana, stop, stop!" he hissed, face contorted, breath breaking. But Ariana didn't tighten the hold. She didn't strike. She didn't even raise her voice. She simply leaned close and said, quiet but lethal, "Don't make me." Her grip released. Trent collapsed backward, clutching his arm, eyes wide with something Ariana had never seen in them before. Fear. Real fear. Logan scrambled up, dragging Chase with him. Come on, man! The three of them stumbled away across the field, tripping over each other in their frantic escape. Ariana watched until they disappeared behind the bleachers. She exhaled slowly, grounding her breath, letting the adrenaline settle in her limbs. But before she could leave, a sharp crunch of gravel sounded behind her. Ariana spun. A figure stood at the edge of the field, an adult silhouette, stiff posture, arms crossed. Not a student, not a teacher she recognized, but someone who had seen everything. Someone who wasn't looking at her with fear, but with interest. And the next morning, that interest would turn her entire world upside down. The conference room of Ridgewood High's school board was nothing like the classrooms outside. It was colder, quieter, coated with the sterile scent of old carpet and disinfectant. A long table dominated the center, surrounded by stiff chairs and people who looked like they had already decided Ariana's fate long before she walked in. But Ariana didn't walk in alone. The door swung open, and a woman in a black tailored suit stepped inside with her. Sandra Brooks, Ariana's mother, moved with a controlled, predatory grace, heels clicking like punctuation marks against the tile floor. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes were sharp enough to cut glass. Principal Hale straightened in his seat, visibly uneasy. The board members looked up, whispering quietly among themselves. "Let's begin," Hale said stiffly. "We called this emergency meeting to address the violent behavior Ariana Brooks has shown." Toward Sandra raised a hand. A single gesture, and Hale fell silent. "My daughter," she said, voice cool and lethal, "has shown extraordinary restraint, considering what she's endured since stepping into this school." Hale's lips tightened. "Mrs. Brooks, we have reports." Sandra didn't blink. "I'm not interested in your reports. Play the video." Hale's face twitched. "We don't rely on student recordings. They can be edited, misleading. We follow protocol." "I said," Sandra repeated, leaning forward slightly. "Play the video." Each word landed like a measured blow. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Hale opened his mouth to protest again. But Sandra was already acting. She reached into her bag, pulled out a sleek laptop, and set it on the table with a decisive thud. "If you won't show the footage," she said coldly. "I will." Ariana froze, but Rosa's USB was already in Sandra's hand. Sandra clicked a file, and the room changed. On the screen appeared the raw camera footage Rosa had saved, the one showing Logan covering the lens with orange tape. The stairwell scene played clearly. Ariana being cornered, shoved, trapped. Logan laughing as he set the stage for the false accusation. Trent appearing, already primed for violence. The boardroom was silent. Completely silent. One of the members leaned closer, eyebrows raised. Another exhaled sharply. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." But none looked more shaken than Principal Hale. His face paled. His breath hitched. His fingers twitched on the table's surface. Sandra didn't look at the screen, she watched him. "You knew," she said softly. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation delivered like a blade. Hale swallowed hard, throat bobbing. A board member turned to him. "Principal Hale, is this accurate?" Hale didn't answer. He couldn't. Sandra continued with a calmness more terrifying than anger. "For the record, I am not just a parent. I am a federal investigator assigned to educational corruption cases. I know every rule you're attempting to twist, every file you're manipulating, every lie you've enabled." Gasps flickered around the table. Trent, who sat beside Hale, went sheet white. Sandra leaned back, arms crossed. "And I can assure you, this isn't going away." Hale's mask finally cracked. Sweat dotted his forehead. He wasn't just losing control, he was losing the protection he had always hidden behind. For the first time, Trent's uncle looked afraid. But Ariana didn't feel triumph, because as the meeting dissolved into chaos, one truth settled in her stomach with chilling certainty. Trent wasn't finished. He couldn't touch her in the boardroom. He couldn't win publicly. But there was still one place he held power. The gym, the court, the biggest game of the season, and he planned to make that night her final humiliation. Ariana just didn't know it yet. The Ridgewood High basketball court had never been this loud. The bleachers overflowed with students, parents, teachers, everyone packed shoulder to shoulder, buzzing with a restless excitement that had nothing to do with school pride. The gym lights blazed down on the polished wood floor, illuminating banners, jerseys, and an atmosphere electric with anticipation. Because tonight wasn't just the season's biggest game. Tonight was the night people came to see Trent Miller, the once untouchable king of Ridgewood, face the world after being knocked to his knees. Whispers swirled across the stands. "She's the one who dropped him. Where is she? I heard she knows MMA for real." Ariana sat quietly on the lower stands, half hidden beneath her hood, trying to ignore the cameras subtly pointing her way. But the rumor had already spread. From the front row to the highest bleacher, students chanted her name under their breath like a secret anthem, and Trent heard every single one of them. He walked onto the court with his jaw clenched tight, eyes straight ahead, expression frozen in a mask of anger and humiliation. But Ariana saw the tremor in his hands, the tension in his shoulders. He wasn't composed. He was fraying. The crowd erupted, not with cheers for him, but with mocking whistles, sarcastic applause, and murmurs of, "Where's your crown now?" It hit him like a punch. Trent tried to drown it out as the game began, but the chants only grew louder. Ariana, Ariana. His teammates glanced uneasily between him and the crowd, and the more they chanted her name, the worse Trent played. He missed passes, fumbled rebounds, shoved a teammate out of frustration. At one point he even yelled, "Shut up!" at the bleachers, earning a technical foul and a wave of laughter that rippled across the gym like wildfire. The Ridgewood team huddled angrily during a timeout. A teammate snapped, "What's your problem, Trent? Focus." Trent shoved him. "Get out of my face!" the coach yelled. Players argued. The team fractured right there on the sideline, but the real explosion wasn't on the court. It was backstage. During halftime, one of the freshman players went live on Instagram, joking around with friends as they walked through the locker hallway. None of them realized the live stream camera was still rolling when they passed by the slightly opened door of the varsity changing room. Inside, Trent was tearing the place apart, a bench overturned, lockers kicked open, his fists smashing into metal, and his voice raw, furious, spitting slurs, ranting about Ariana, screaming threats soaked in racist venom. The livestream comments went wild. "Is this real? Oh my God, Trent, what? He's done. People need to see this." Within 90 seconds, the clip hit Snapchat, then TikTok, then the entire student body. By the time the second half started, the gym was vibrating with a completely different energy. Booing, shouting, curses thrown from every direction. The clip played on dozens of phones across the bleachers. Some held it up toward the court, like torches in a riot. Trent stepped out of the locker room and froze under the weight of 1,000 eyes. Not admiring, not fearful, but disgusted. The last of his reputation, the myth of unbeatable Trent, shattered. Completely, utterly, irreversibly. The team benched him. Students screamed for his removal. Parents demanded consequences. And Trent, for the first time in his life, looked small. But for Ariana, the night wasn't over. Because, once the gym emptied and the echoes died down, she still owed Trent and herself one final conversation. A conversation she couldn't avoid any longer. The counseling room sat at the far end of Ridgewood High, a rectangular space enclosed by clear glass walls, designed to feel transparent and open, though today it felt more like a fishbowl. Anyone walking past could see the meeting, but no one dared come close. Inside, 4 seats formed a tight circle. Ariana took her place, first posture straight, expression composed, eyes calm in a way that unnerved even the adults. Across from her, Trent lowered himself into the chair. His face was tense, jaw clenched, bruises still faintly visible beneath his skin. He kept his gaze low, avoiding her eyes. For the first time, He didn't look like Ridgewood's golden boy. He looked cornered. Beside them sat Miss Finley, the school counselor, clipboard balanced on her lap, glasses perched at the edge of her nose. And next to Ariana sat Sandra Brooks, her mother, arms folded with quiet authority. "Thank you for coming," Miss Finley began softly. "This is a restorative meeting, a chance for both students to discuss what happened, express their feelings, and—" "She attacked me," Trent interrupted, trying to sound wounded. "I'm the one who got hurt." Ariana didn't react. Miss Finley cleared her throat. "Trent, we've already reviewed the evidence. Multiple videos show that you initiated the physical contact." Trent's jaw ticked. "Those videos were taken out of context." Sandra leaned forward. "The only context missing is how many times you've gotten away with this." Trent stiffened. He didn't dare look at her. Miss Finley continued. "The purpose of this meeting is honesty. Ariana, would you like to begin?" Ariana inhaled deeply, keeping her voice steady. "I don't hate Trent. I never did. He grabbed me. He shoved me. His friends held me down. I defended myself." Her eyes shifted, meeting Trent's at last. "And I think you know that." The room quieted. Trent swallowed, trying to rebuild the wall of arrogance he had lived behind. "People respect me," he muttered. "I'm captain of—" "No," Ariana said gently but sharply. "They fear you." Trent's eyes flickered. Ariana leaned in just slightly. "You don't bully people because you're strong. You bully people because you're terrified someone stronger will take your place." The sentence hung in the air like shattering glass. For a long moment, Trent didn't move. His lips parted, then closed. His shoulders shook once, and then the wall broke. His eyes welled, jaw trembling as he forced out a breath that sounded almost like a sob. One hand rose to his face, but he couldn't hide it. His voice cracked. "I just can't lose it. I can't lose the only thing people liked about me." Ariana didn't speak. Miss Finley's expression softened. Even Sandra watched him with the look of someone seeing a truth she had suspected all along. Trent pressed his palms against his forehead. "If I'm not the best, if I'm not the strongest, then I'm nothing. No one listens to me. No one cares. I just—" His voice broke again. "I couldn't let you take that from me." It wasn't anger now. It wasn't cruelty. It was fear, raw and naked. Ariana finally exhaled. "I never wanted your place. I just wanted you to stop hurting people." Silence settled over the room, heavy, but no longer hostile. And as Trent wiped his face, Ariana realized something profound. Her real victory wasn't the punch that sent him to his knees. It was breaking the armor he used to hide his fear. But the school board still had to decide Trent's fate, and whatever sympathy he earned here wouldn't save him from what was coming next. The announcement was scheduled for noon, and by 11:45 the main atrium of Ridgewood High was overflowing. Students crammed shoulder to shoulder beneath the skylights, whispering, speculating, pulling out their phones. Teachers stood off to the side, pretending to maintain order, but even they leaned in, waiting. This wasn't just school drama anymore. This was history. Ariana stood near the back, hood down this time, face uncovered, Rosa beside her like silent reinforcement. A knot formed in her stomach, but she faced the crowd with quiet strength. Then the double doors opened. The school board entered in a line, their expressions grave. Principal Hale trailed behind them, pale and rigid, no longer walking with the swagger of authority. He looked like someone walking toward his own sentencing. A microphone screeched as the board chair stepped up to the podium. "Students and staff," she began, voice steady. "After reviewing all evidence regarding the recent incidents involving Trent Miller, Logan Wells, Chase Turner, and Ariana Brooks, the Ridgewood School Board has come to a final decision." The atrium held its breath. First, Trent Miller. Gasps rippled through the room. All eyes locked on him. "Trent Miller is hereby suspended for the remainder of the semester for violent misconduct, intimidation, repeated violations of school policy, and attempted falsification of evidence." A split second of silence. Then the atrium erupted. Students cheered, shouted, clapped, some even whistled. A chant started somewhere on the left bleachers. Justice! 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 Trent flinched at every sound, shoulders curling inward. For a boy who once ruled these halls, the roar of the crowd now sounded like judgment. The board continued. Logan Wells and Chase Turner will receive 1 month suspensions for their roles in the harassment and entrapment of a fellow student. More cheers. Logan cursed under his breath. Chase stared at the floor. And as for Ariana Brooks, the entire room hushed. Even breaths were held. Ariana Brooks is cleared of all wrongdoing. A rush of relief surged through her body. Furthermore, the chairwoman said, voice rising, she is formally recognized for acting in justified self-defense under dangerous and targeted provocation. Applause thundered through the atrium louder than before, swelling like a tidal wave. Ariana blinked, overwhelmed. Students she had never spoken to were cheering her name. Rosa squeezed her shoulder gently. But the board wasn't finished. And finally, after reviewing the handling of this case, the board has accepted Principal Hale's resignation, effective immediately. Hale's face collapsed, defeat, exposure, and humiliation etched onto every line. He stepped back from the podium, the illusion of power stripped from him completely. And then came the plot twist no one expected. We are pleased to announce, the chairwoman said, that Sandra Brooks will join the Ridgewood Advisory Council as a consultant for anti-bullying and safety reform. A wave of murmurs swept across the room, shock mixed with admiration. Ariana looked at her mother, who simply nodded once, firm and composed. And with her support, the chairwoman added, we will launch a new student-led initiative, Stand Up Strong, promoting courage, accountability, and protection for victims of harassment. All eyes turned to Ariana. She wasn't hiding now. She wasn't shrinking. She stood straight, shoulders squared, calm and radiating quiet strength, from outsider to advocate, from target to symbol. The atrium thundered with applause, and for the first time since she arrived at Ridgewood, Ariana felt like she wasn't fighting alone. But peace didn't last long, because 1 week later, something happened that none of them saw coming. The hallway looked different now. Not physically, the lockers were the same dull blue, the floors the same polished linoleum, the same buzzing lights flickering above, but the feeling was different. The heaviness that once clung to Ariana's chest whenever she stepped into this corridor had disappeared. It felt open now, lighter, like she had reclaimed the air itself. This was the hallway where Trent had cornered her, where Logan had pinned her wrist, where students had stood back, silent, afraid, watching her struggle alone. Now, as Ariana walked through the same space, her steps steady and grounded, students glanced her way, and instead of mocking whispers or judgmental stares, they moved aside with quiet respect. And then Will Harper appeared from around the corner. He held his backpack straps tightly, but his face was brighter than Ariana had ever seen it. When he spotted her, he hurried over, offering a shy but genuine smile. Ariana, he said, voice trembling slightly, I wanted to say thank you. She blinked, taken aback. For what? For standing up, he said. Not just for yourself, for everyone who never could. When you fought back, when you didn't let Trent walk all over you, you gave people like me a chance. He used to, Will swallowed. He used to threaten me too. But after what you did, he didn't dare. Ariana softened. Will's voice held years of fear in just a few words. Fear that she recognized, fear she had carried herself. I'm glad you're safe now, she said quietly. Will shook his head. I'm safe because you made it possible. Ariana didn't know what to say to that. Before she could respond, another group approached 3 students who had once laughed at her in the cafeteria. Their smiles were gone. Instead, their faces were heavy with guilt. One girl stepped forward. Ariana, we're really sorry. We shouldn't have laughed. We shouldn't have ignored what was happening. Ariana didn't flinch. She simply looked at them, calm and unreadable. I'm not angry, she said gently. I just hope next time you stand on the right side sooner. The girl nodded quickly. relief flooding her expression before they hurried away. Then, from behind Ariana, a familiar voice called out, "You handled that well." Ariana turned. Coach Rosa stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed, an approving but subtle smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. She approached Ariana with the same firm, commanding presence she carried everywhere. "I've been thinking," Rosa said. "The school's launching the new self-defense program next month. They want it to be real effective, something that empowers students." Ariana raised an eyebrow. "Okay." Rosa met her eyes. "I want you to be my assistant coach." Ariana froze. "Me?" "You." Rosa nodded. "You've lived it. You've fought it. And you have what most students don't: courage under pressure. I can teach technique, but only you can teach what it means to take your power back." The words settled into Ariana's chest, warm and steady. A new mission. A new purpose. She stood there for a moment, letting it sink in, then slowly smiled. "Yeah," she said. "I'll do it." Rosa's smile widened. "Good. Let's get to work." As Rosa walked away, Ariana turned back to the hallway, the same hallway that had once felt like a battlefield. Not anymore. Now it was hers. She took one last look, breathing in the moment fully. Never assume silence means weakness. Some people stay quiet until quiet is no longer an option. And just like that, the hallway that once belonged to the Bullies became the place where their entire kingdom collapsed. Trent's pride didn't break because of one punch. It broke because the girl they tried to silence refused to stay down. Her courage exposed every lie, every manipulation, every ounce of fake power they thought they owned. And now the question isn't whether she fought back, it's whether you would have had the strength to do the same. So tell me in the comments, what part of this story shocked you the most? If you want more stories where justice hits back harder than any bully ever could, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You don't want to miss what comes next.